You can't kill them all, only control them, because our bodies have trillions of cells which rely on helpful bacteria like probiotics to work right. If we kill all the organisms in our body, we kill ourselves. The secret is to keep the bad guys to a minimum. Make our bodies so healthy and clean, the undesirable guests won't want to stick around. Don't feed them the junk food they love. Sweet stuff, bread, alcohol, rice, pasta, milk, cookies, crackers, cereal, meat, cheese, cooked foods, refined carbohydrates, soft drinks, commercial fruit juices, junk foods. They love the food you love and hate the food you hate. Even letting yourself become run down energetically allows them to get stronger. So who's winning, you or them? Common signs of parasites are you're tired a lot, sleeping problems, constant itching, weakness, headaches, lack of appetite, or hungry all the time, especially for sweet foods and carbs, flu-like symptoms, depression, skin problems, acne, arthritis, joint pains, eczema, dermatitis, sinus problems, breathing and lung problems like pneumonia, then uncontrollable coughing, lumps under the skin, cysts, diarrhea and constipation, sometimes alternating back and forth, mucus in your stool, irritable bowel syndrome, stomach aches, cramps, digestion problems, nausea, overly dry lips, vision and eye problems, gas, bloating. Parasites can burrow into your brain and cause nerve damage and eye problems. They can multiply so much in your gut what you think is fat may in fact be entire nests of parasites. They can clog up your digestive tract so much no food can get through, making you constipated. They love to live in your stomach and intestines because that's where all the food goes, and you feed them every day. As a matter of fact, it's said that almost every health condition known can be connected with parasites in some way.
But what if I told you that cancer, acne rosacea, multiple sclerosis, and rheumatoid arthritis, 4 different diseases in 4 different areas of medicine, what if they can all be treated with parasite medication? And that turns out for those diseases to be true. A pathologist, I think McDonald is his name, he was in Florida, I believe, he looked at 100% of MS, dead MS patients. He had a series of 10 patients that died of multiple sclerosis. 100% of them had parasites in the brain and spinal cord. So in the big picture here, we have a book called the ICD-10, which shows that we have 70,000 disease diagnoses you can come up with and codify for Medicare and Medicaid and all these different government agencies. Are there really 70,000 diseases? Or are there 70,000 presentations of a few root causes? That's where we need to go back.
We're all subject to this, like it or not. It's a fact.
Is it possible that there's a link between demonic entities and the negative parasitic beings that live in our bodies? When we talk about demons, what are we talking about? Evil spiritual entities? Or are they just a figment of our imagination? Well, I would say they are very real, and not only are they spiritual beings, but they can manifest into this world in many ways, and one of those ways is through parasitic organisms. Let's start with, what are the common symptoms of demon possession? 1. They have the power to influence your mind and to fill it with destructive thoughts. 2. They can have an influence on the dream realm, manifesting as shadow beings during sleep paralysis. 3. Possession usually involves becoming sick and constantly tired. 4. Your spiritual powers and ambition begin to diminish. 5. Over-extreme sexual desires that can never be fulfilled. 6. Material and egotistical desires that end up driving the person possessed and mad. And that's just the start. I'm sure it could go on, but I want you to think about the connection between demons and the infestation of parasites in the body. Most humans are not aware of how many parasites they really have. Almost all of our eating habits result in parasitic beings finding a home in the waste that fills our body. If you eat meat, let me just let you know you are filled with parasites. Not only are high-protein diets extremely acidic, but the body doesn't know what to do with all this excess protein. And what ends up happening is our sewage system gets backed up. Also, most of us are completely enzyme deficient, and there's no way that our bodies can actually digest this meat. So you know what happens? It literally stays in your body and rots. If only you knew what your colon really looked like inside. Oh, but you're vegan. You think you're an exception? Think again. Most vegans consume an extreme amount of protein in order to compensate for not eating meat. Most of them cook all of their foods. Again, enzyme deficient, and top that with genetic deficiencies, we end up having issues removing toxins from our body. All of this cooked food is dead, and your body has no idea what to do with all this toxicity. The only way to protect itself is by forming mucus. This mucus is what's saving your body. What tends to happen is this hardens and stays in our body for a very long time. If you eat 3 times a day, you're cooking your foods, and you're not taking extra measures to cleanse your body, then you are most likely infested with parasites, meat or no meat. I think most of us can't imagine the amount of energy that we could have if we remove these parasites from the body. It's not just that, most people don't even realize that their thoughts are not even their own. This also explains why it's so difficult to silence the mind.
It's not really that crazy to think that if there is something inside of us that wanted to thrive, like a parasite, that they could influence their host to make decisions that create a more hospitable environment for their kind. These microbial organisms absolutely have the ability to steer the thoughts, emotions, and actions of their host. Sounds an awful lot like possession to me.
You have beings inside of you that just sit and demand what to eat, they feast all day long, and then they poop inside of you all day and night. Parasites have the ability to affect your mind. Well, we usually don't become aware of disease in our body until it manifests as a serious issue. Most people don't consider that maybe most of their tiny symptoms like tiredness, headaches, bad odor, depression, and itchiness are the first signs that something isn't right. But what do most people do? They go to the doctor and get these symptoms suppressed with what they assume will be a quick fix. These chemical medicines do not solve the issue, they just suppress it. Eventually, it will come back, and when it does, it will be a full-on disease. If we can accept that we have parasites, we can start to see why this would be connected to demons. Parasites are beings of death. They thrive off of death and rotting. They too can have an influence on your dreams.
I think a common misconception is that freedom of being an adult is getting to drink booze and eat as much pizza and ice cream as you want, but those are drugs pushed on us as kids, and when we become adults, we think that we're choosing to eat those things, but all that's really happening is we're becoming slaves to our cravings. Much like a thrall is a slave to a demon. It's exactly like drug addiction. It's called the Food and Drug Administration for a reason. Why would food and drugs be lumped together if they didn't serve the same purpose? Alcohol is even called spirits. When someone has an addiction problem, they call it demons. It's also common knowledge that addiction is a disease. So if addiction is a disease, as well as a demon, then what makes any other disease not a form of demon? Typically, parasites are these long, worm-like things or fibrous beings that inhabit our guts, and they resemble antennae or fiber optics. Begs the question, if parasites can influence our thoughts, and they can influence our dreams, and they can influence our desires, then could it be possible that parasites are antennae for demonic entities to manifest in the body? Para, prefix. A prefix with many meanings, including alongside of, beside, near, resembling, beyond, apart from, and abnormal. Site, an area of ground in which a town, building, or monument is constructed. So if we imagine our bodies as temples, this word begins to make a lot of sense. Something that is inside your body that shouldn't be. Almost all religions attribute worms and parasites as being evil or the work of Satan. Is it influenza? Or is it the influence of demonic entities? The word influenza even sounds like influence, so what do people say when you sneeze? They bless you. Why would they do that? The average answer, of course, is that people in the olden days were just dumb Christian zealots who attributed everything to Jesus and blessings, because the general idea is that they were stupider in the past. However, I expect that the perpetuation of that idea is to cause confusion and mistrust in all things spiritual.
Even schizophrenia, where many people see and hear evil voices from all around, could be caused by disharmony of the body and an infestation of parasites. From Science Daily, quote, recent studies have found evidence of worrisome impacts, including an association with schizophrenia because of the parasite T. gondii. It's found in the brain as well in the muscles. In addition, field and laboratory studies in mice, rats, and people have shown that infection with T. gondii triggers change in behavior and personality. There is a study that goes over this same exact thing. A growing body of evidence suggests a correlation between schizophrenia and exposure to infectious agents. The majority of studied cases concerns the infection caused by T. gondii, an obligatory intracellular parasite that infects about 1/3 of the entire human population, according to the available data. Quote, numerous epidemiological case control studies show a higher prevalence of T. gondii infestation in individuals with various psychiatric and behavior disorders, including schizophrenia. A lot of these studies are just focusing on one parasite alone, but really, they have no clue what's actually going on in the body. That's another thing I've always accepted growing up, that the medical establishment actually knows what they're doing. I have no idea why we think this. Doctors do not heal anyone. Allopathic medicine fails at solving any issues, and most of the time, it just makes it worse. Again, why do we assume that these people actually know what these chemicals are doing in our body? I'm sure they understand it from a very boxed-in perspective, but they have no idea how it affects our body as a whole. The parasites love antibacterials. It doesn't kill them all, by the way. It just completely destroys your gut flora and kills all the good bacteria. You have parasites in your brain, in your heart, and when you take these medications, it destroys what you have left of good bacteria, just making it easier for the parasites to thrive. We just stuff ourselves all day long with mostly indigestible foods that just sit in our body and rot, while our body overworks and tires itself trying to get rid of all this waste that never ends.